Blocked. The Chiefs win a ball game they should have lost on a blocked field goal. Will Lutz does not get the ball off. Kudos to the Chiefs for coming up with it on a day they couldn't get anything else done. This is crazy. Welcome to RGR Football. We are live post-game breaking it down for you. This is Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. Excuse Dan. He just can't believe what just happened. I'm glad that you guys are with us. Come on in, ask your questions. We're going to go through our notes. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell. Dan, last minute, I don't know who got their hand on it. It might have been Reed. It might have been Williams. But holy crap. They lived and died today by their own problems, and yet they still eke out a win when they probably shouldn't have.
I don't even understand how you lose that football game, Denver. I don't know. Was the kick too low? What happened there? They let you win the football game, and by the clutches of victory, you have lost the football game. I can't believe this. This is insane.
Sean Payton's going to go into witness protection. I am so shocked by this. I did not expect this. He can't believe it. Folks, this was an ugly game. There's a difference between winning ugly and playing ugly, and this entire team played ugly today. There were some bright spots. We're going to highlight them for you, but this is a game they should have lost. This is lucky beyond lucky. We were talking as we were getting ready to go live here. They're going to lose at some point. That has to happen. Nobody goes undefeated anymore. We don't even want that pressure on the team, but this way would have been very ugly. They couldn't throw the ball. They had trouble running the ball. The revolving door that is left tackle is not the solution that I thought it was. Wanya Morris actually came in later in the game, and that's when they moved the ball a little bit better. I don't know where we're at on Kingsley, but what do you see?
Yeah, Kingsley should be sitting the rest of the season out. I'll take the L on that. I thought he'd be much better to start the season. You can make if for this or that about if he would have continued to start until now. Maybe he plays better. I don't really know that. That's more if, ands, or buts. We don't have that. What we have is information that's given to us, and he looked lost. Absolutely lost. So Wanya Morris came in. I think he looked far better. There were some snaps that you saw, okay, this looks what I saw coming out of BYU, but it's very few and far in between. So I'll take the L on that one, you guys. And there's still a lot to develop there. Remember, he's a 21-year-old tackle. He will develop, in my opinion. I think that they'll be able to do that. They're in a good position to develop him with Wanya playing, I think, fine, enough to win football games. That is what this is at this point. But hopefully he stays healthy, because what we just saw today from Kingsley is not good enough to not only win football games, but to win playoff games. You can't win with that level of tackle play. You can't.
I agree. We'll break down Kingsley more on Monday Night Q&A. You guys join us at 7 Central. We're live every Monday night to answer your questions. I will put it this way. I'll give him just a touch of leeway because he got thrust into a game that he probably hasn't prepared for. But the problem is it doesn't look like he's been prepared since he stopped starting. So I need to see some progression. We didn't see that. We'll talk about it in depth tomorrow. But this was a game that was highlighted, honestly, by frustration, by penalties, by not lining up correctly, missed passes from Patrick Mahomes, missing gaps, not getting any separation against man coverage, which despite a couple of nice catches from Hop, from Kels, was just a grind all day long. They refused to change the game plan. We talked game plan before, folks. If you missed it, you can go back and check that out. They didn't change when they had to. They had to go to quick game to get some of those slants, to get some of those low crossers that you can take advantage of an over-aggressive linebacker level, and they didn't do it. They just wanted to do what they wanted to do. They stuck their heads in the sand for the second week in a row, and it didn't work out. This is a problem, I think, from all the way down of just feeling like you could walk into this game and you got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, it does feel like they think this is the only way that they can play football, which I understand. Kareem Hunt does not have anything to the outside. You really can't run outside zone. You can't run stretch. You can't run anything to the outside because he doesn't have the speed to get you there. So you have to run between the tackles, and it's not that hard for a defense who's very good at identifying what you do well and trying to take that away. I think Vance Joseph has done a fantastic job of doing that. Funny enough, last week against the Ravens, He did not do that. He played a ton of zone and he got eaten alive by it. And then they said, fine, we'll just play man coverage against Patrick Mahomes and then just keep the top off, keep the top on it. And we'll just do what we do against this team, grind it out. It should have won them the football game. Obviously, they did a great job generating pressure. You were able to get Patrick Mahomes down, 4 or 5 different sacks on the day, tons of quarterback hits, pressure all the time. They were able to put them in 3rd and long situations, which a few times they're able to get themselves out of. But if you're consistently getting in 3rd and long situations and not throwing the football in one-on-one coverage, Mahomes did not throw the football. He basically just accepted that he was going to get sacked at sometimes. And I'm not okay with that. Personally, it feels like he's got this the clock going off and he's like, nope, we're going to try and get out and make something happen or just take a sack. And I think sometimes you still have to be able to throw the football in man-on-man, one-on-one times, situations. 1, the ball comes out. That way it's not a sack. And 2, you give them a chance. So I think that the pressure this season has mentally screwed up his process, and it's impacting their ability to not only throw the football, but honestly should be impacting their ability to win football games.
And it just hasn't gotten to that point. Talent is overriding gameplay at this point. And eventually it will bite them. This is just a preview. The fact that it's an AFC West foe, one that is now, pushing to overtake the Chargers. If you guys missed my preseason rankings, I had the Broncos just behind the Chargers as a team that would be 500 plus and would be able to push them around a little bit. I didn't think they'd push the Chiefs this far. So what do they have to do? Well, there's a lot that has to be done. You didn't have enough in the game plan to counteract the fact that they went all man all day and were blitzing the crap out of you. When they send 6, there should be a hot route available every single damn down that you hit on a 2-step drop and it's gone, and they didn't go to it. This is a key flaw in them thinking they can do whatever they want whenever they want. They have to correct that. Now, the other problem, I don't know what's going on with the wide receivers. Xavier Worthy can't seem to fall to the ground without coming up banged up. Kudos for him for coming back in later as the broadcast made a big deal out of it. That's a couple weeks in a row where Xavier just doesn't look like he's ready to contribute. It can't all be, it's like everybody let a breath out. Oh, we got D-Hop now. We don't have to worry about it. Kudos to Justin Watson, Noah Gray, because I thought they both put in decent performances and they tried to take up some of that slack. McCole, 1 screen. I didn't think that was much. And here's the biggest thing for me. They actually showed it. On the goal line, they ran, was it goal line or was it in red zone? I can't remember. They actually ran a toss to Hunt that got positive yardage on the outside edges, and they didn't go back to it. They didn't run counter all day long that I saw. They ran a couple of delays and a couple of draws, but they didn't do anything to get away from the fact Broncos were sending everything between the tackles, 5 and 6 rushers. Get it to the edges and get it gone. The screen game got snuffed out a couple of times. You didn't run those quick slants, and that's what you have to do against a team that's on your butt like that. I'm a little disappointed honestly, with the coaching staff on the offensive side.
Yeah, it feels like they've just not wanted to develop their players. And I know that's not their what's going on, but it does feel like Kingsley and Worthy have just been tossed to the wayside in recent memory. Well, Wanya Morris is playing now. Oh, we're not going to worry about him. Oh, we got D-Hop back. All right, cool. We don't have to worry about getting Xavier the ball early in games on quick things. Like it makes no sense, some of the things that they're doing, because they've fallen into this. Well, Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce, and DeAndre Hopkins, the old crew, are going to lead us to the promised land. That's not how this is going to work. You're not going to be able to continue to get the best out of your old players. You're not going to be able to. And today was kind of showing you that. Travis had a good game. I think Kareem played better as a pass catcher than he was able to produce as a runner. And Hopkins was, for the large portion of this football game, taken out. You have to be able to do something different scheme-wise to get your players to open the ball. And I think that there was an over route early in the game on Xavier Worthy where he's got to step on Riley Moss going left to right, and Mahomes just doesn't throw it. He eats a sack. Throw the ball. Just throw the ball. Just do it. Just give him a chance. Yeah. But for whatever reason, this is what they do, where they don't trust them until they do. And I don't know what's going to happen until that figures out. But if you're only using your rookies, like your wide receivers, in a specific way, you're not developing them. Rashee Rice being the only real exemption to that rule, their young wide receivers have not developed under Andy Reid at all. None of them have. So there is going to, in my opinion, there's got to be some questions about what's going on behind the scenes, because if you're just giving them this one role and saying, learn this, that's not, and also expecting them to play everywhere, you're not doing them a service. You're doing them a disservice.
And you're not letting them help you. At least you have to stay on it. It seems like once you make these acquisitions, you kind of step aside from it. And Tactics, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you. You got to laugh at some point, right? And just take that evil laugh and go for it. I wanted to get to Martine. I hope you're doing well. They are expensive tickets. I am absolutely with you on that. You can go to Game Time. We have a setup code for you. It's called Locked On. You can check that out. It's through my other show, but check out Game Time to get some apps. And I'll try to do some other research on some of the other advertisers that have some deals for you, but check that out. Folks, if you want to see what I had shown, what I wrote down, Dan and I always share our notes so you get exactly how we're analyzing ball games. And this is some of it. Some of this is on the wide receivers. Not getting open on third down, and Benito coming down everybody's throat. Some of it is also on Patrick. Something like the overthrow of Kelsey in the end zone that this game shouldn't have gone down to a last kick, because the man was, I think, alone for 8 yards in any direction, and the ball sails on him. You can put some of it on the ankle, but this is on Patrick as well. This is a team that I thought looked lackadaisical and underestimated their opponents in the first half. And then, they got a little scared, and I'll give them credit. They did come on for the last offensive drive of that first half. But after that, they fell right back asleep and thought they were in cruise control. That's what I see. How did you see it?
Yeah, it felt like again, we kind of mentioned this already, but they stuck to what they've been able to do well. When you don't give a defense, any kind of variety, they're going to take it away. Vance Joseph has done one thing. He's made it tough on the Chiefs when they've gone to this short passing game, the run game. Like, he knows how to take this away. Like, he knows it's not hard to make a Chiefs team that wins two ways play left-handed. And I think they did a great job of doing that today. And honestly, cats off to him again for, like you said, sending pressure up the middle, because what it did was it put your left tackle and your right tackle on islands. So you can rush to the outside. You can have them come outside and inside because they can't have any inside help. So that's why you saw Bonito, who was able to come outside and then race back into the B gap, because he knows he's got no help on the inside. He's got none. So you can chip all you want to on the outside. That's where the communication problems are really breaking down. And again, kudos to them for doing that. Unfortunately, when Kingsley was thrown in there, the communication shut down for him too. He did not know how to correctly adjust to that. So that's a little bit also on the coaching staff saying, look, they're sending pressure up the middle. You're not going to have the help from Joe. So if you're getting chip on the outside, you can't set so deep. You can't. There's no communication happening and helping him out either. So yes, he was bad, and we're going to get to more of it playing, watching it back and seeing just how bad. But at the end of the day, this is a holistic failure on everybody, in my opinion, to not be able to help out Patrick enough. And then on top of it, when the pressure gets to him this year, he has not been able to beat it. Like, he hasn't been beating the blitz this year anywhere close to what he has in previous seasons. So it's all coming down to this. You play like this, you should lose football games. And honestly, there's a couple of them back to back where probably should have lost both games. And you end up on the outside, and they're getting rewarded for poor play and poor choices, and both, I think both of our expectations.
That's the biggest thing. It's a self-fulfilling loop, right? Like, hey, we can still get away with our C or D game like they did today. That doesn't help you focus on the next opponent. Now, there are a number of things on the defensive side too. There are a couple of standouts, but there was a lot of missed opportunity, some guessing and run fits, some guys that just got moved when they shouldn't have. That line's decent, but it ain't that good. I'm sorry, it's not. If you want to get all this, you can get our notes, mine in particular, if you join at the rookie and plus level. I did put out a special couple of things here over the last couple of days for you members that are either starter or rookie level. So make sure you go back and check those out and keep an eye open, because I'm going to keep trying to pepper in more and more special content for all the members. But if you want to get the gear, try to celebrate, try to be positive, you can do that in our store here, and we appreciate it. I wanted to get that in before we get to this, because I know how I feel. I want to know what you think of where McDuffie is, as he's been picked on by a couple of bigger receivers lately.
So I think that this is just kind of how Trent McDuffie plays. We have this idea of Trent McDuffie being in like everyone's hip pocket, but if you watch quite a few times when he is targeted, he's not in their hip pocket. Across the field specifically, when you go across, he's behind receivers. So I still love Trent McDuffie. He's a fantastic receiver, or excuse me, DB. I think on the outside, he's going to start getting exposed a little more, specifically against crossing wide receivers, because he's behind all the time. And this goes back to the Chiefs defense, because they do not teach them to play the football. They teach them to play the receiver. So if you are always waiting on the receiver to make a move, guess what? You're also waiting on them to cross your face. And in that regard, you're behind all the time. So I think Sutton did a fantastic job today in just beating him across. You don't need a huge amount of separation, but yeah, kudos. He did a great job. And then that deep ball touchdown, he's just runs right by McDuffie. Runs right by him. I know he gave a little push.
No contact.
I know he gave a little push at the end, but like, let's be honest, even if he doesn't, he's still catching that for a touchdown. McDuffie can't do anything there. So I think we're starting to see some of the holes. If you don't have that number 2 corner and you can't press on the outside and get home with your blitz all the time, there are open receivers all over the field. And today that really did kind of show itself. Also attacking the middle of the field, because I mean, that's what everyone can do against this defense.
Yeah, I honestly feel like there's something else going on as well. All that is true with McDuffie not making contact with the bigger guy. He's got to be physical at the start of the route in order to survive against bigger players all the time, without doubt. Can't be questioned. But he also isn't quite as quick as he has been in the past, especially on that late dig to Sutton as well. That was a good route, but he's not an ankle breaker. That's something that McDuffie should have been able to be able to react to and make up. He doesn't look like he has his catch-up speed fully with him at the moment. And I don't know what that means. They got to get back at this, and they got to get serious. I think they're just treading water still, and I hope that this was the wake-up call that they deserved. What did the Broncos defense, I'm guessing, do to stop the Chiefs offense? To be honest, I think the Chiefs did a pretty good job after the half. Thank you for your job and keep it up. Thanks, Levi. And we're kind of outlining some of these things. They are a very good defense. Let's be real. They, rankings wise and all that, they are higher than the Chiefs are even. These are 2 top 5 defenses. Chiefs defense didn't step up to the plate though. I felt like George Karlaftis was solid, but not up to his normal caliber against, honestly, tackles that I think he should have been able to be more effective against. I felt the same way when you saw Uche come in, especially against Bowles. He chose to engage him with a lot of bull rushes, where I think had he tried to dip and rip and get to the outside shoulder, I thought he would have been a lot more successful using his strength against Bowles' strength. I think that would have been better. But overall, I felt like it just came back to Spags trying not to be Spags. And I can't argue with him, because Nix has been very good against the blitz, and he didn't want to go to it. But that's what he had to do. And so kudos to them for designing enough blitz packages that if you had to go to it, you were able to get it done and get him off of his spot. A lot of folks didn't think Nix was a very good player when this season started. I think a lot of people's heads are turning around. He's turning into a player that I think will be in here with Justin Herbert and other guys that can compete with this team for a bit. How do you feel about what the Chiefs need to do to counteract that?
I personally think that what has happened this season is Sean Payton absolutely scheming and taking advantage of every defensive problem that you have and making Bo Nix look good. Because for large portions of this football game, he did not look very good. He was throwing to wide open receivers. He himself did not elevate anybody, in my opinion. And they were unable to take advantage of what a rookie quarterback is. But again, hats off to Sean Payton. He ran the ball. He had play action. And those times where they did not blitz, they could not get anybody home. He's just sitting back there, very comfortable in a pocket there was no pressure. He could step out, step up, and there was really no ability to win one-on-one. When you take Chris Jones and put him in the middle, and then there were a couple times where he was able to get pressure early off the edge, but they're taking guys to Chris Jones and taking him away, and you don't have anybody that can just win. And Josh Uche is going to come along, and hopefully you're going to be that guy for you. But right now, like you said, he was not really going to his strength, which is speed and kind of bend off the edge, especially from that right spot on the defense. So I personally believe that the Chiefs still only allowed, 14 points in this football game. or something like that.
Mhm.
Come on. I mean, okay. The large portion, I think, because the Chiefs offense struggled so much, it allowed the Broncos to play comfortably. They weren't from behind. They weren't having to throw the football all the time to get back in this football game. They were able to run it and still short pass and scheme players open, things like that. The one time they tried a trick play, it was gone. It was destroyed. No one was able to do anything with it. So personally, I think that the fact that the Chiefs offense was unable to take a lead, really a bigger lead at any point in this football game, allowed the Broncos to stay in it the whole time. And again, kudos to them. They played fantastic in this game. They played very, very, very well, and it allowed them to stay comfortable. They were never panicking. They never looked out of sorts. They always looked like they were in control of their offense because they were, to be very honest with you.
I think you nailed it, not only for this game, but for the last game as well, and what they have to guard against in the future. You are a talented team, more talented than most of the teams you're going to face. If you don't use it correctly and you don't put pressure on the opposing defense, offense, whatever you're trying to do, you have to get them out of their game plan.
Yeah.
Your job is to stop their game plan, not just execute your own. And I think that's the next step that they're saving for the end of the season, postseason push, getting into January. Like it's too close. Is it the end of the world had they lost this ball game? No. It's the infuriation of how they continue to cut this so close because they're just not doing basics that they should be making adjustments on. And maybe it's just the fact that there is no fire under them right now. I don't know what it is, but
very possible.
I didn't mean to click off of Knicks fans, right? I didn't click off of Knicks fans here, but it's not the injuries. You're right. You should be sick of hearing that. I am as well. It's not that they're incapable of doing things. It's not that Carson Steele is not a good backup. It's not that you're going to grind Kareem Hunt down. And I am a little bit worried about that between the lower extremity soft tissues and now a knee thing. Like I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. Checo cannot get fast.
Dude, old man Logan out there, he can't heal like he used to be able to. It looks like it's taking him forever to get up after it, and it's not good. It's not a position, and I feel like they're going to have to rush Pacheco back just to get this to a situation where you're comfortable putting them both out there. It's rough right now for the Chiefs. Kareem Hunt, he looks like he's even a step slower than he was when he got here.
I agree with you, and I think it's just the high volume. I don't know that you can do much other than to rehab him. You know, it is what it is, but you got to bring some balance. And I know that Mahomes was pissed off at Steele for one of those blocks, whatever. That's about rules and understanding what you're doing. I think they need to give him a few more carries because I thought when he did touch the ball in the run game, he gave Kareem a couple of plays off. You know what I mean? I don't know that I want to put P right in that role, and I don't clearly with CH inactive today. I don't know that he's ready to pick up, but you got to do something to help Kareem in the next month so you don't have to rush Pacheco back artificially.
Just a real quick aside. I watched, if you guys did not watch The Pivot with Clyde Edwards-Helaire on Ryan Clark's show, The Pivot on YouTube, go watch it. It was incredible. And I think it gives every single person a key insight into what he's been going through the past, actually, ever since he was in his last season at LSU, what he's been mentally dealing with. He says on the podcast that he feels mentally and physically healthier than he's ever been. Like, I imagine that's probably true. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire can give you something right now that you're missing. Spry legs. Because he's not fast, okay? He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he can move quicker than Kareem Hunt, Carson Steele, and P. Ryan at this point. And if he's going to be able to play in the next couple of weeks, I think that helps your running back room a ton. And hopefully, mentally, he's good to go. Because like he said, and I genuinely want you guys to watch that and listen to what he went through and how that stuff can mentally impact not just you on the field, but off the field physically. So hats off to him. Hopefully he's healthy and ready to go, because I'll tell you right now, Kareem Hunt is getting hit maybe more than any running back the way he's getting hit in the NFL. It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. Before we go on to tactics here, for those of you that are asking, per my guy Matt Derrick, who will be on Locked On Chiefs with me in a little bit, it was Leo Chanel who actually made the block and got that done. So another
so good
feather in the cap of Leo.
That's so great.
What a season for him. And he's only getting better.
I'm just going to say, like, I know we've been pretty negative this time, guys. The Chiefs did win the football game. It felt like they lost it. We have been kind of negative about them because they're not playing winning football, but they're winning football games. And first of all, I am glad to be back. I'm happy to be back, guys. I know I missed the last week or so and had some real travel issues in the process. I feel like I'm getting a little sick from all the sleep that I've missed and stuff like that. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you guys are with us here today after the game. Noon games are always weird for the Chiefs unless it's the Bears of 2 years ago, because the Bears suck. But they play in prime time so often that I feel like these noon games just throw them off. And we all should have expected the Broncos to play well in this game and probably win it. So just wanted to say that. And they are what now? 10-0?
I tell you what, it's ridiculous, right? Well, I missed you, buddy. And folks, thank you. It is. It's nuts. I missed having you around. And folks, thank you for bearing with me this week. While I sounded like I was speaking out of an ashtray most of the week. It was not pretty. Sorry, and I appreciate you guys powering through with us. Now, tactics. Did Nuke and Kelsey have angles on the missed TDs? Kelsey certainly did. I thought Nuke might have. I didn't see a good enough angle to make me feel really strong about that. Did you have an opinion?
I didn't really see that one very well. It was tough because he was already double covered. Like, he was just throwing it over to him in the end zone. But Kelsey was wide open. Like, he was wide open. That one was tough. There was the one that he sailed Xavier Worthy. Also, kind of, if you throw it underneath, allow him to adjust, he's going to catch that for a touchdown. There was some weird things from Mahomes in this game. Again, I do think that you can almost directly equate when the pressure is getting home almost all game, he's off. He's off. And I think the last 3 games, we've seen him be much better. And the pressure wasn't always getting home in the last 3 games, maybe the last month. But this game showed you, one, the Broncos are for real, and you have to take them seriously no matter what. That defense is legitimately good, and they will get pressure on you. So you got to give your quarterback some quick options. And it's hard to do that. I will say, it's hard to do that when you're chipping. It just is. You have to chip with your running back and your tight end. So we have a lot of complaints about, well, there's only 3 receivers in the route. Why are there only 3 receivers in the route? Because you have to chip. You have the chip help. And you can't trust your tackles, even when Wendell Morris is out there, to one-on-one stop these guys. They are that good. So there's a little bit of give and take with the situational 3rd down and longs. And like I said earlier in the show, the Broncos did a great job of getting them in 3rd and long. So many times, 3rd and long situations. What it allows them to do is not just get creative with their defensive play calls, but just tee off on what the Chiefs want to do offensively. And again, it throws that wrench into it where you have to chip, and it just creates so many problems for their offense.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up 3rd down efficiency here, and I'm not seeing it yet. I'm going to have to go to a different site. But there is situational football. I will say, and we'll get to it a little bit later about the tackles. Before we get to where we're going to have to call it, we'll probably go about 45 minutes because I got to get on to Locked On as well. Second week in a row where Mahomes missed Worthy too close to the sideline. And so it's one of 2 things. It looked to me like both times it was ball placement outside of the field of play. So I can't say that it was Worthy running into the sideline himself, but he also isn't giving himself a whole lot of room. When he breaks out and gets an edge on a DB, he's got to belly in a little bit more. So he has that last second adjustment to the outside without dragging his feet out. That's part of learning how to run that route when you play with Mahomes.
I will say the difference between the last 2, from the last 2, like the one against the Bucs where he had to be on the sideline, is because there's a safety over top. So he can't really throw that inside, and he can't tail it inside, because if he does, it makes a much easier play. So that one's more sideline awareness. For this one, Mahomes needs to throw it inside. I don't know how many times I've already seen him do this, where he's either going to throw it too close to the sideline, or I think this one, personally, the wind got it a little bit, because you could see while Worthy is tracking it, he's having to move late. That ball ends up coming down and out of bounds a little bit late, and he was not prepared for that. I think the wind took it a little bit there at the end. But Mahomes does not like to throw the football inside down the field. That's a little bit of a problem. When you got so much space, lead your receiver away from the sideline. He can do that. Throw it into the end zone, lead him down the field inside a little bit where you're throwing away from that sideline. So both of them can learn from these missed connections.
Yeah, I hope that they make the adjustment. There's got to be a trust factor there too in order to make that I think they can get there. I did go back and check 7 for 16 on third down. This is the first game that it's been noticeably below 500 for them. And I think that's a big stick right there that they have to get figured out. Thundarius, nice to see you. Thanks for the support, brother. Who had blocked kick on their bingo card? Not me. I'll tell you that. I didn't see that one coming, buddy. But check out his channel and check out RGR Craft. His show's going to go up here in a little bit, probably next week or two. I would take 2 to 4 losses to win the Super Bowl. I'm totally with you, Knicks fans. That is not a problem. I'd rather see them go down swinging and playing their best game than piss them away like this when they eventually lose. I guess I'm just complaining about near losses, right? Am I being overly dramatic?
I think that we can all take something of the way the Chiefs are playing from these games and say they're not playing well. We can also understand that last year they didn't play very well until post Christmas, right? So yes, we'd love for them to play a little bit better. It does feel like they're in cruise control. We're all on the same page. I think that I personally believe they're on cruise control. This game kind of shows you that, where they just didn't feel like they had to change their game plan at all. And you put up 16 points in a game you should probably lose. And I hope that flirtation with the loss changes things up just a little bit, because you have to get more creative in the normal game plan, not necessarily in the red zone, because Andy Reid with his end arounds and crazy shenanigans that he does still costs them points at times, but execution. Another Juwan Taylor penalty derails a drive today. Like just the little tiny mental mistakes that always seem to cost them, at least cost them last year, aren't costing them this year. But it does feel like when it kind of gets time for December, January, those things kind of automatically out of nowhere clean themselves up, right?
Yeah, there's a motivation thing going on there. Thank you, Knicks fan. Appreciate you. Thank you, Green. Yeah, that's the thing. I still feel overall he's got the higher ceiling. He certainly hasn't made any progress yet. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, and we'll go through it a little bit. Cole, you actually called the block. Well done, buddy. I appreciate you. You and Leo Chanel's family are probably the only ones who saw that coming. So cheers to you, bud. I can't believe the refs blocked the field goal. That's funny. Because that's what you're going to get, tweet. Not only from Broncos fans. Yeah,
I think
right?
you should tweet that out and then tag me underneath it so I can retweet your tweet, because that's fantastic. I don't know if you have Twitter, Steven, but please, I would love to retweet that. That's hilarious.
And if you don't, I'm clipping it now and I'll put it out for you if you do not, Steven. But please so do. Good. Steve's one of our members. You guys can join it too by clicking the join button below Dan over there. Please go get Donovan Smith. And there are a couple of these in here. Nice to see you, Night Hunter. Nice to see everybody in here. And Alex, I agree with you. I do think that the sleepwalking thing is a thing. I think it's a little late to go make a signing like this unless you're prepared to play the regular season and not use him for a while, because good God, he's 10 weeks into the season now with no camp, no nothing. Like, I don't care what you're doing at home. You're not in game shape. There's no way to really duplicate that. So I'm a little concerned with that, but a lot of Bakhtiari talk too. Bakhtiari is not an option in my mind. I don't think you can rely on him. I think he will get injured, if not immediately, very, very quickly once he's on the field. But almost the same situation. Those guys have been out so long. Would you do either?
The only thing that I would say is I would bring them in only for emergency situations and to help. Well, we talked about this ad nauseum at this point. Somebody should have been in the room, because again, who is Kingsley going to talk to after these, right? He's going to talk to his coach. Okay, fine.
Yep.
But also, it'd be really nice to have a Donovan Smith who played for years to come back after the coach talks to him and say, look, I understand you're going through some stuff right now. This is what you need to do a little bit better. In game, coaches can only help so much in terms of getting your confidence back. It should be something that they should have addressed before now. And since it is going into week 11, it does not matter. They're not going to do it anymore. I believe that they ruined his confidence this season. That does not excuse his play. Does not, because it was bad, legitimately bad. And like Ryan said, we're going to talk about it more on Monday. But at the end of the day, Wanya Morris, if you don't stay healthy, I don't know.
Yeah. We're in rough shape. Appreciate you, Dylan. Appreciate you, Greg. Thank you. We try to be, and we appreciate
Greg.
you using the word analyst. Because, yes, we're fans of this team, but we try very, very hard to be analysts first. Looks like I'm getting some lag down, so I'll let you take the next couple, and I will be right back.
Yeah, no problem. I got you. Appreciate you, Tracy. What's going on? Oh, Ryan's got these all bottled up in here. Do I have? No, I don't. Okay, that's fine. Bills next week. They're a good team this year. Can we beat them playing like this? That's the better question, I think, Tracy. I don't know if the Chiefs can beat them playing like this, but they are still a good team. They've had their own injuries at the wide receiver position as well. They decided to go, get Amari Cooper. They've had Keon Coleman injury, his wrist as well. Funny, both of their wide receivers, Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper, have wrist injuries. That's not something you see every day. So yeah, I think they still can beat them. But if they play like this, like they have been playing, no, I don't believe that they will. But what needs to change? Yeah, I think that they need to do a better job of in-game decision-making from the coaching staff. You have your game plan, right? You work the first 15. You work what you're going to do. If things change in the game, you have to be able to be ready to, at halftime, accept what's happening and go differently, right? Be able to do that. So Ryan's got a ton of these lined up. So my problem is that I don't on my screen. So I'm going to start here. We got that one. All right. So actually, I think I do. There we go. Yevgeny, thank you for the super chat, man. 9-0, baby. Mahomes took a beating today. How much of that is due to depth in his drops? I think a little bit was due to the depth. I also just think that Kingsley Suamata's play was pretty bad. And the Broncos' game plan was very good. Blitz up the middle and force your tackles on islands. They did a very good job of that. So give them credit where it's due, but also acknowledge that the offensive line was pretty poor, specifically at the left tackle position for the majority of the football game. Do you think Mahomes' ankle injury is hurting his accuracy? I don't believe so, Aaron. It's because it's his left foot. So you're planting with your right foot a lot, right? As a right-handed quarterback, that's your plant foot. So unless he's throwing off of his left foot, then he's not going to be changing a ton of what he's doing mechanically. And you don't really see that a ton. I think really today the accuracy issues was more about the pressure and being on the move and not trusting his offensive line to get the job done. So personally, I don't. Ryan should be back here in a second to see if his answer matches up with mine. Hey, look at that. There he is right there.
Hey.
Do you think that it's hurting his accuracy at all?
The ankle, yeah, it does look like at some points, especially when he's throwing on the run. If he can just stay pat and be a 3-step, 5-step drop, throw from his platform for a game or two, I think that will allow his ankle to heal a little bit. It will take some of the variability out of it. But that requires having tackles that can actually hold up for 2.5 to 2 3/4 seconds. And I do think it is affecting it. I won't say that it's the root cause of everything, but it certainly is bothersome, would be my guess.
That's fair. That's fair. We got to get to some of these super chats so Ryan can get out of here and do his thing. Nick, appreciate the 10 spot here. I was there today. Defense looked slow and offensive line looked like a JV squad. Patrick looked okay to me. It's weird, right? If he maybe Ryan's got more to it than I thought he did in terms of them just taking this game for granted, because that is not entirely inaccurate, Nick. It did not feel like they did a great job in the trenches today. They kind of got it taken to them. What do you think, Ryan?
I mean, 14 carries for Hunt, 2.5 yards. That's by far the lowest output that he's had. And I feel like I saw Creed get blocked into the backfield a couple of times. I thought I saw some misses from Trey, not just the tackles today. The interior three that are the strength of this offensive line did not have their best game out. So I do agree with that. Like, there was something else going on. And maybe it's just the fact that they have good players over there too. Zach Allen is a very good player. And let's remember, he played with J.J. Watt. Like, he knows how to get things done, and that's why he's a center force here. The difference is that they've been able to be very methodical about how they use Benito and Cooper. That's why Baron Browning isn't a Bronco anymore, because they have Cooper and Benito, and those guys have emerged. It's taken a while. I had Benito as my number 2 edge coming out in his class because of the things that you saw today, but it's taken 3 years to get there. It's all kind of culminating in what is, I think, also a very good system from Vance Joseph. You can say what you want about him as a head coach, and I would probably agree, but he is still a very, very good defensive play caller. So they just got to get serious. And it was a short week, okay, but that's not an excuse. You still got to be ready.
I still think it's pretty funny that the two worst performances from Kingsley Suamataia happened against speed rushers. Like, oh, if you could have scripted any
Should
better
be the thing
for
at his best.
yeah, right. If you could have scripted it any better for the defenses, like it just feels like that was it, right? The inside counters really did him in today. Oh man, it was just rough to watch that game. Tom, great AFC West win. 9-0, baby. Great job, guys. Honestly, I don't really know how else to say what we have already said about the negatives. We're going to get to the positives. I don't know how many you have, Ryan, but appreciate you, Tom. It's always being in here with some of these, but this is something that I really wanted to get to. Yeah, this is something I really want to get to because I think it's a good point to subject everyone to the two different offenses that the Chiefs have really run. So, Green, thank you for the super chat. Pat, a bad deep ball thrower. He was only good with Tyreek. How many times did they throw the football down the field with Tyreek Hill and in that iteration of the Chiefs offense? This was a 4, 5, sometimes 10 times a game where you're throwing the ball 10 plus yards down the field. As with anybody, your instrument needs repetition. It needs practice. Patrick Mahomes does not throw the football down the field. He doesn't. The offense is stagnant to short passes, okay? That's what it's become because defenses do not want him to throw the ball down the field. So guess what? They do not, for the most part, they don't let him. So he does, it's an excuse, whatever you want to say, that's fine. I think it's accurate that he does not have enough practice reps in game to throw the football down the field in these situations because that was the first time and actually the only time all game that he threw it more than what, 10, 15 yards downfield?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look at the map to tell you the truth. I'm really intrigued to actually see that chart, which I don't see up yet at NFL Next Gen, but we'll look for it. We'll try to review that this week too. I agree with you. And it takes everybody needs practice, including him. And there's a difference between game speed and practice speed. And even if he's practicing it, getting it out against a competition, especially competition this good, is something that you can only get in those game situations. Thanks, Green. Appreciate you. Thank you, Outlaw. Why no quick slants with all that pressure? And this is one thing that I harp on constantly. It drives me nuts. But I will say one of the positives that I put in there, somebody looking for something positive, is what was it? It was the second offensive drive of the second half, where they did two things that I really liked. I mentioned the toss sweep earlier to get to the edge and kind of shut down some of that speed that's coming up the gut at you. The other thing that they did is they started going to bunch formations. Bunches, double stacks, those are things that can break man coverage. That's what you want to do. And they did it for a bit, but then they lulled it back down and they got into 3x1s again and like the basics. And they just didn't stick with it and they didn't throw enough of these. D-Hop can catch a slant on anyone at any time over and over all game long. There's no reason not to throw it. That's the only thing that I have a big qualm about.
It's tough. I don't understand it either. And honestly, you're getting Xavier Worthy against Riley Green. I like Riley
Moss.
Riley Moss. Riley Moss. I don't know why I said Riley Green, but Riley Moss. And I can tell you right now, if you get him on a quick slant, he's probably going to catch that too. But he didn't run one all game. He didn't run one.
Yeah. It was.
I don't.
And we're to the point now where my old complaints. I'm totally with you. We're to the point now where my old complaints are going to come back. That little pop pass where he's not jet motion, but post snap, he's running across formation behind the line of scrimmage and you dump it to him. Yes, he turned the Jets on and he did get that first down. You got to do that at 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, not behind it, because that's how it turns into a 20-yard gain instead of just barely 8. That's the difference. And so it's not enough to I think sometimes they just don't run things because they don't want to be predictable. Like they are predictability averse in my mind. That's why they don't run slants. They don't do things down the field. They think that they can lull everyone to sleep and do these crazy things. And honestly, their success rate is the thing that allows them to keep planning this stuff because generally they accomplish something.
And you want to know something weird? In the very first game of the season, what did they do? The same thing over and over and over against the Ravens with Rashee Rice. But he was a second-year receiver. You want to know something you should do? Put DeAndre Hopkins in the slot and do the same exact, I'm going to swear, shit all game long. Do the exact same thing and force these slot defenders to cover DeAndre Hopkins on a quick slant from the slot all game. Guess what? You can't do it. And then when you do, you have someone come around him like Xavier Worthy and you hit it behind it. I'm frustrated. It makes no sense.
We are seeing, and part of it is our expectation too. We are seeing a team that still has to develop some of these players, not developing them like we feel that they should be, and to the point that they should be at 10 weeks into the season. I know it's only 9 games, but it's still 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem, is they have to continue that. And I see the last question that you highlighted. We're going to get to that here shortly. Can we try Tooney at left tackle? I saw him fill in that one entire game, and he played either right. And also, did you see Bakhtiari's post about playing for Patrick? I did not see Bakhtiari's post. I don't really care about Bakhtiari's post. If he wants to come in for vet min and be basically a coach in a uniform, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
I don't think you can sustain Tooney at tackle. I will say that. And I don't think anybody can go in, nothing against the backups, but I don't feel comfortable moving Tooney to tackle. And then basically that's a downgrade at both positions. Maybe it's not a downgrade in given situations at tackle because Tooney's probably better than Wanye or Kingsley today, but they're not going to get better if you don't play him.
I think my biggest problem is that Joe Tooney at this point in his career cannot get out in a pass set. Absolutely not. Like, you thought Kingsley was having trouble getting depth. I can promise you he would still be better than Joe Tooney at this point getting depth. Coming off of an injury, it's a whole different thing. He's much better inside. You're going to effectively make 2 positions worse by putting him at tackle. And I think right now, Wanya Morris is playing fine. He's playing, and at times, above average tackle play. If he can stay healthy, that's what you ride until you can't, right? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put him at left tackle, in my opinion, coming off of an injury. Now, maybe if he was fully healthy and 3 years younger, maybe you think about it. But those situations are very different.
Yeah. Now. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Will. Appreciate you guys. I do want to throw this out because I've seen it in the chat. This is the image. It was Leo Chenal with the block on the kick. That's been officially recorded at this point. So kudos to him. And hey, I mean, that just gives you an idea. That angle doesn't look terribly low to me. It is, above or right above lineman, offensive lineman head level. Might be a touch low for given how close you were. But look at all these arms. Everybody got a launch off, and that's why you get a block, not because the kick was necessarily low. And I'm not trying to I'm just telling you let's
kind of give Dave Toub some credit here. In a key moment in the very last play of the situation, he had his entire special teams ready to block a kick. How often can you put a team out there that is relied on to block this kick to win a football game, and they do it? That is something in a game, in a moment where honestly they are probably defeated. The offense wasn't doing what they wanted to do. The defense was getting moved on pretty much that entire drive. They couldn't execute properly, and it comes down to a kick and a blocked field goal. And they went out there and they executed something that they haven't been able to do all game long, and they got the job done. That is just fantastic execution and will to want to win that football game. So give them and Dave Toub a lot of credit for that situation right there.
Yeah, absolutely, because he's not put in that position very often. Neither is his units. Quick shout out to my friends on Oahu. I hope you're enjoying the weather. I know it's an early ball game. You guys had to get up that much early, but yeah, you're absolutely right there, my man. Too close for the bet that has been in my family for the last 20 years. So cheers to you guys watching from the islands. Mr. Anderson, do you think that this is just Andy hiding his best schemes for the playoffs and everyone is just on board, or am I just coping? You're coping a little bit. It is part of both. He's got plenty of stuff he's saving. But it's also the fact that the things that are in the playbook are not being executed well enough as they should be to make these wins by more margin. That is true as well. So it's a bit of both, Mr. Anderson. Anderson, unless you disagree.
I will disagree with you. I think that because they've lost so many players to injury, they've had to kind of take the playbook and do this with it. We can't execute everything we wanted to. They practiced all offseason with Rashee Rice, with Hollywood Brown, and then they drafted Xavier Worthy. They had Isaiah Pacheco. They had multiple tight ends they wanted to. In this football game, they did not run very much 13 personnel at all. There has been a lot of change and then they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. Like, he's their number one receiver. So the guy who is now their number one receiver was not in the offense to start the year. The guy who was is out. The number 2 is out. The running back is out. So I don't think that he's holding anything back. I think that they just can't run what they want to because their offense is completely different than what it was.
Yeah, I can see that partially as well. I think we forget too about Hollywood could be back for this team eventually. So like let's keep our fingers crossed, you know. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep hoping. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I mean Neo. Oxodl. Frustrating game, but love the ending. Everybody loves to hate on the Dodgers, but honestly.
Appreciate you, Oxodl.
It's the Raiders that are the ones that I hate the most. So it is what it is. Quentin, this BS is real, and it's in the Chiefs' favor. God, that's an ugly win. I know this is a win, but yep, really live with a win like this to be 9-0. Yes, I mean, you have to. Thank you for your support. Quentin, another one of our members. It ain't pretty, but you can live with it, and you have to at this point because eventually they will lose. They should lose because if they go into the postseason undefeated, like the pressure on that team will be so insurmountable for a team that needs not only rookies, but as Dan just said, guys who have not been on the roster that long to be participating. That pressure can really cook a team. That's what I would be concerned about.
I'm with you.
Okay. I'll be at the Chiefs-Bills game. Good for you, Will. Please send us a shot or two from the stands where I'd love to see it. I live in upstate New York. Only Chiefs game I've ever been to was a blowout Chiefs win at Arrowhead, hoping for the same result in Buffalo. I am too. The defense is going to have to be on. When they're running power, what was it? Was that a trap with Josh today? They're running that stuff with the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like Josh is going to be the focus. I don't know if they can run the ball otherwise. Like the defense has to be ready for Josh.
Yep. Just, hey, Nick Bolton, watch what Josh does all game long. Do nothing else. I don't want you coverage and responsibility. I want you just to watch Josh all game long. If he moves, you move. If he runs, he runs. If he guns at the middle, you tackle his ass. That's what you should be doing with Nick Bolton in this game, in my opinion. But more to come on the Friday, game plan, right? We'll get more there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and you teed up one of my other positives. Nick got caught out of position, didn't play a zone drop pretty well, allowed one of the touchdowns. There's a couple other times where in pass coverage, Nick was a little bit off today, but coming downhill, doing what he does best, he was excellent at the top of his game. And Bo Nix is a good athlete. He's not an average athlete. He is a good athlete at quarterback. And that long sack, to be able to track him down and make sure that he didn't squirm away from you, that was a really nice play on Nick Bolton's part. And he was going to have to do that and then some against Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're hoping for.
Around it. Chiefs for life. Is this safe to say the Kingsley experiment is over? No way in hell. No way, shape, or form. This is a rookie. It's like saying Xavier Worthy's done as well. No, that's not the way that it works. Clearly, I think there's been missteps by the coaching staff in handling this problem. Clearly, he's not ready for what he's dealing with, but he's 21 years old. He's only going to get more mature. He's only going to understand better. Hopefully, it may be that he doesn't start for the rest of the season. Maybe he plays sparingly. I don't know. But it is not an experiment. It is an investment long-term in a draft pick that will play for this team. It is nowhere close to over. I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
Did they quit on Eric Fisher when he was awful as a rookie and they drafted him number 1 overall? These things are a little bit singular, right? They're out of smaller schools. They have the athletic traits to develop. You sometimes just got to stick with it. The difference between that team and this team is that this one's trying to win a Super Bowl. A third one in a row. The Chiefs had time. They had time to put Eric Fisher out there and just kind of send him to the wolves because the team was not that great and they were rebuilding everything. They were starting the Andy Reid team fresh, right? Difference here being there's more pressure on this team than there ever has been before to go for the three-peat. And I think that they're getting better play out of Morris. I think we can all agree to that. And you don't give up on players after 1 year. There's something mentally going on with him as well. They have to figure out how to get to the root of that problem because they want him next year to be the starting left tackle, in my opinion. You don't want to go as a second-round pick and say, yeah, well, he started 2 games, played in 3. We're pretty much done. That's not how you get further in the development business and winning Super Bowls as a team.
I'm with you. I had the 5-minute warning here, folks. The pressers are over. You're going to see me live over on Locked On Chiefs with Matt Derrick and Chris Clark here in a couple of minutes. So let me run through the last of these. And to finish this as well, Daniel was asking, would you just leave him out there and let him learn the hard way? Until today, I would have said yes. And it depends on, if Wanye is recovered or if he just powered through this game. And if you actually prepare Kingsley to be the starter, I think you might have a slightly better outcome. We'll see what happens to that next. And Only Knives had a good perspective on it. He will likely end up just like his cousin, who was excellent in college and had a bit of a lull the first season or two, but now is elite for the Lions. I do think Kingsley will come around.
Maybe he's
Michael
the right tackle. What if in a couple of years Kingsley ends up the right tackle? Yeah. Okay.
That'll work. Pat lives on the frying pan pressure. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. Hanneman, nice to see you. That was a legit illegal contact flag. I didn't see that one, but nice to see you and thank you for being a member again. I'm not sure which one that refers to. We're gonna wrap it up on this one, Dan. Your opinion? How do we have a great quarterback and struggle on offense the way we have the last 3 years? Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the super chat as always. In key moments, in big moments, in the playoffs are really when great quarterbacks make their money. It's not in regular season wins. It's how you respond to pressure. It's how you perform in the fourth quarter of a football game. It's how you propel your team to win a Super Bowl in overtime, on a drive to score, to win. In those moments are how quarterbacks are judged. The offense is an 11-man performance, right? If an offensive tackle jumps offside, you're not going to blame Patrick Mahomes for that, right? If they hold, you're not going to blame him for that. If someone drops the football, you're not going to blame him for that. Now, he's also not doing his part in some of these games as well. But he's having to become Alex Smith almost. Tom Brady later in his career. He's got to be not the gunslinger that came out of Texas Tech and that the Chiefs offense was for the first 3 to 4 years of his career. They can't throw the football down the field like they want to because defenses have said, we're not a cover 3 or cover 1 team anymore. We are all cover 2 when we play the Chiefs. We will have 2 safeties back. We will put a top on your offense and force you to have to go first down, second down, third down, first down, second down, third down. We will make it so difficult on him. And every single defensive coordinator comes into these games saying, what we want to do is have Patrick Mahomes score on a 15-play, 75-yard drive. That's what we want. And if you can do that, all right.
I was chuckling the whole time on the broadcast, and nothing against those guys. But they're singing the praises of keeping the time of possession so lopsided, having these long plays. And I'm like, no, you're getting slowed down by the opposition. This is not by design. And he doesn't want to do that. That's just the way that it's working out because of what you're getting to play against. It is what it is, folks, as is another win. You got to take it. You got to move on. We'll look at next week. It is a standard week now in terms of preparation. So we will have it for you. Tomorrow night is Q&A live at 7. We'll answer all your questions, including the tackles and everybody else. I'm going to be over on Locked On Chiefs here momentarily. Have a great night. Dan, welcome back. I'm glad you're back with us, pal.
Appreciate being back, everybody. And then we'll have, like I said, more content for you on Monday. I'm going to watch this game back and see how everyone does. And we will talk about Kingsley more on Monday for sure.
Then we'll have the breakdown from me on Tuesday. We'll have Dan's film on Wednesday, on to Gary, and then on to game preview. And you can catch us, if you haven't seen it yet, exclusively on Autograph on game day mornings. We have a piece that goes up only on that app. So check out our friends and get signed up. Have a great night. Thanks for being with us. We'll catch you next time.